Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero, another economic capsule in 2023. Recently, there has been some discussions because everybody wants to start with new resolutions in the new year. Well, how about tax reform? How about reducing the sales and use tax? How about some inflation adjustments in terms of income tax? Well, we have entitled our economic capsule as Why Tax Relief is a Mirage. As you know, my editorial policy is to tell you the truth as I see it. I don't think the truth has different versions, but at least I try to document my positions. The first graph that you see here is the renegotiation of the public debt. Around 2020, there was the estimate of the fiscal plan that there was going to be a renegotiation of the public debt from $70 billion, and that included the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority, which has not yet been done, but included Puerto Rico Aqueduct and Sewer Authority, the Commonwealth, and of course COFINA and other entities. And they said, hey, we are going to be renegotiating this debt down to 51%, down to $34 billion. Well, that is not absolutely correct, because within that, at least for the Commonwealth, there was a $10 billion cash that was given to bondholders. So truly, it was not a reduction of 51%, but a reduction of 37% inflation, as I depict for you in that third column in that graph. So again, let's be transparent and truthful as to what is happening in terms of that renegotiation. And still there are people who are saying, hey, we could have renegotiated more of this. And still there's a big elephant in the room, and that is the Puerto Rico Electric Power Authority debt, which is still pending. Let's move fast forward to the second graph, and let's look at that debt service. And I must say that all these fiscal plans, they change the presentations. They don't show or depict the same tables so that we can have comparable series in time. But we've made an effort to present to you how much is at least the pay-go, that is what is being paid for the retirement systems, because all the retirement systems went belly up. So the central government is paying for it. Some public corporations are doing it. Even the municipalities are contributing. So it's that green segment that you see there on this graph. And if we add the pay-go, we add the orange segment, which is the COFINA debt service. We add the blue segment, which is the Commonwealth, central government, and we add some of these capital appreciation bonds, which are really triggered by some metrics based on the things that maybe there is more in terms of the sales and use tax, as per what they estimated as the bellwether of 2022 through 2043. And there are two of those, which is the segment which is orange. They were CAB bonds at 5%, and they are due at 2024. And then if we add the CAB 5.37% for 20 more or less 34, which have to be paid by them. So all in all, how much of that debt service and pay-go really represents, well, as of 2058, it's going to be like $900 million. So yes, 2058, that's 36 years from 2022. So if you thought that things were going to perk up and that we don't have really a lot to worry about, think again. It's the next 36 years. It's your son, your daughter, your granddaughters, or your grandchildren. Let's look then, what does it imply in terms of a general fund, which is really the entity or the fund that is for all the government operations. And as of 2022, if we add the pay-go as well as the debt service, for which we have some tables, it represents like 28% of that $12.8 billion in general fund net revenue. So almost 30% is already allocated at least minimally, to this debt service. So there isn't much wiggle room in terms of the government operations. The next graph depicts what AFAF, which is the authority, the financial authority. This is the heir apparent of the Government Development Bank. They have recently presented their fiscal plan, and they have forecasted economic growth. And I'm comparing that, those are the blue bars that you see there, columns that you see in this graph, those are AFAF. Then the orange segment, orange columns are the PROMESA forecast, and then the green bar, the green columns are the growth of Detroit. You remember Detroit was one of the cities, the largest bankruptcy in the US in recent terms. And what we are depicting there is 1 year after the bankruptcy was over, 2 years, 3 years. So the horizontal axis is 5 years. And so for Puerto Rico, these forecasts are really anemic. It's less than 1%, it's negative growth, whereas Detroit presented, even after 1 year after the bankruptcy, presented positive growth of 1.3%, 1.5% second year, 1.8% the third year. Of course, the fourth year, it includes the pandemic of COVID, so that's a bit of a reduction. But already by the fifth year, it's 1.8%. And even by the sixth year, it's almost 8% that they are forecasting. So certainly bankruptcy in Detroit is producing better rates of growth. With the forecast that they are providing here, certainly Puerto Rico is not going to pull out of its recession. It's going to continue depending on federal funds, which are at best dicey, depending on the whims of Congress and even of the President of the United States. And finally, these growth forecasts are based on structural reforms, which I am depicting here. And it's so complex, and really, is it worth it? They say that in 2023, it's going to be reforms of doing business that's going to contribute 0.1% to that GNP growth that I depicted before, which was 0.9%. Really? For all these consultants that they are going to have so as to engage the government in these reforms. In 2024, it's going to be the energy systems. It's again 0.10%. 2025, more of a contribution with human capital and welfare. Yes, 2025, 2 years down the road, that reform could contribute 0.15%. I mean, it's practically nothing. The total impact, 2023 through 2026, it's 0.75%. That is meager. In my book, anemic. Why waste your time? So think again. If you think that you're going to have some relief in terms of income tax, inflation-adjusted income tax, reductions in the sales and use tax, think again. It is a mirage. For the next 36 years, Puerto Rico has committed its resources with anemic growth into the debt service that has to be paid, into the pension systems, and very little is really going into economic growth. If you liked our economic capsule, don't forget to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero in YouTube, to give us a like, that thumbs up in those capsules that you liked, and don't forget, this is a service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse, and that the economy is all of us. Thank you.